all want to be rescued. Rescued from our pain, from our confusion, from our failures, from the suffocating expectations and the heaviness of regret, from the ghosts of who we used to be, and the haunting feeling that we might never be more than what we are right now. We want someone to see the mess we are in, and reach down with a steady hand, to say the perfect words that quiet our minds, to fix what is broken, to tell us that it is going to be okay, and make that promise real. But here is the truth, and it will shake you. No one is coming. Not your parents, not your partner, not your friends, not some distant mentor, not even the future version of yourself you fantasize about. And at first, this realization feels brutal, like the world has betrayed you. It is a painful loneliness, the kind that makes your chest tighten and your thoughts race. You wonder, was I not worth saving? Why did no one show up? Why has it always been me, alone against everything? But here is the paradox. In that loneliness, buried beneath the silence, is your deepest truth. And that truth holds the seed of your transformation. Because when you finally understand that no one is coming to save you, you also begin to understand that maybe they never needed to. That maybe, just maybe, you were always the one you were waiting for. This is not about blame. It is about power. It is about taking the pieces of your life, even the shattered ones, and deciding that you will build something anyway. When you are waiting to be rescued, you give your power away. You become passive. You hope someone else will do the hard work of making your life better, of understanding you fully, of loving you perfectly. But that kind of hope is a trap. It keeps you small, dependent, incomplete. The people who change their lives are not the ones who were saved. They are the ones who decided they were worth saving and acted like it, even in pain, even while grieving, even when afraid. They stopped saying, "If only they had not hurt me," and started saying, "What now?" That shift is everything. Because the truth is, pain is not optional. Everyone will face it. But staying in pain, marinating in it, identifying with it, using it as an excuse, that is a choice. When you claim responsibility for your healing, you stop being a victim of your story and start becoming the author. And no, that does not mean pretending nothing bad happened. It means no longer letting what happened dictate who you become. Let us be real. Life is hard. People will let you down. Things will fall apart. There will be days you want to give up, days where the weight feels too heavy. But that is exactly why this truth is so important. Because the moment you accept that no one else is coming to fix it, you stop waiting, and you start moving. You start listening to yourself. You start making small decisions that build strength. You start showing up even when it is inconvenient, even when it is lonely. That is when your power wakes up. That is when the tide begins to turn. When you take responsibility for your life, you begin to live with clarity. You become someone who does not need to be rescued, because you trust yourself to handle what comes. You stop asking, "Who will help me?" and start asking, "How can I help myself?" And slowly you become the kind of person you used to look for in others. Resilient, anchored, whole. You learn that being alone is not the same as being abandoned. That struggle is not failure. It is proof you are trying. That courage does not always roar. Sometimes it is the quiet voice at the end of the day that says, "I will try again tomorrow." So here is your wake-up call. No one can save you. And that is not a punishment. It is a gift. It means the power to change is already inside you. It means you do not need a rescuer. You need to rise. Stand in your pain. Face it with open eyes. Say to yourself, "This is mine, and I will not run from it anymore." And then take one step, one decision, one breath toward who you are meant to be. Not perfect, not fearless, but committed. Because the day you stop waiting to be rescued is the day you become unstoppable. Once you stop waiting to be saved, something shifts. Something profound. Something irreversible. It is not loud at first. It is subtle, almost imperceptible, like the first light of dawn after a long night. But it is there, and if you listen closely, you will hear it, your own voice, rising from beneath the noise of years of doubt, neglect, and dependency. That voice may be soft at first. It may tremble. It may ask questions like, "Can I really do this on my own? Am I strong enough? Do I even know who I am without the people I leaned on for so long?" But underneath those questions is something even stronger. A spark, a pulse, the beginning of self-belief. Because when you stop outsourcing your strength, you start discovering how much of it has been quietly growing inside you all along. The power you thought you needed from others was never outside of you. It was buried under fear, shame, expectations, and years of giving your agency away. And now it is time to unearth it. It begins with awareness. You begin to notice how often you used to say things like, "If only they would support me. If only I had more time, more help, more clarity. If only someone would show me how." But now, instead of waiting, you start asking, "What can I do with what I have right now? How can I move forward, even if it is just 1 inch at a time? What do I truly want, not what I was told to want?" These questions are not just thoughts. They are weapons. Weapons that slice through your excuses, your procrastination, your dependence. Weapons that begin to carve a new path, one built by intention, not reaction. Yes, it will be hard. Because stepping into your power often means stepping away from comfort. You will lose people. Not everyone wants to see you empowered. Not everyone will cheer for the version of you that sets boundaries, says no, demands more, and stops people-pleasing. But losing those people is not a tragedy. It is a filter. It is the universe clearing space for real connection, real alignment, real love. Because when you finally accept that your worth is not up for negotiation, you stop begging to be chosen. You stop explaining your pain to people who only listen to respond. You stop performing for a world that told you to shrink in order to be liked. And in that space, once cluttered with fear, you begin to build. You build habits that nourish your nervous system. You build routines that respect your time and energy. You build self-talk that uplifts rather than tears you down. No one taught you this growing up. Maybe you learned survival, but not self-love. Maybe you learned achievement, but not authenticity. Maybe you learned to be good, obedient, agreeable, but never whole. So now you teach yourself. You read the books. You sit with your discomfort. You look in the mirror and do not flinch. You journal until your fingers hurt. You cry without shame. You celebrate without guilt. This is not self-improvement for show. This is self-liberation. And slowly, oh so slowly, you begin to feel it. You are becoming unrecognizable to your past self. The version of you who begged to be rescued would not even recognize the strength in your silence now, the grace in your patience, the fire in your resolve. You begin to understand something most people never will. Success without inner peace is a performance. Approval without self-worth is a trap. Progress without purpose is exhausting. So you stop chasing the surface. You go deeper. You ask, am I proud of the life I am building? Am I aligned with my values? Or am I just repeating what I was taught? Am I living a life that feels like mine? And if the answer is no, you pivot, you recalibrate. Not because you are lost, but because now you are in charge. This is what real power feels like. Not control over others, but authority over yourself, over your choices, over your reactions, over your path. You will still fall, you will still doubt. But the difference now is, you will rise faster. You will speak kinder. You will return home to yourself quicker each time. Because you are no longer waiting, you are leading, living, becoming. And no one, no failure, no person, no past version of you can take that away. When you stop searching for someone to save you, you do not just find your strength. You begin the long, beautiful, sometimes agonizing process of becoming. Not becoming someone new, not becoming someone different to please the world, but becoming who you were before the world told you who to be, before the fear, before the trauma, before you learn to trade your truth for approval. Becoming is not a glow-up. It is not aesthetics. It is not something you can post or package. It is private. It is painful. And it is powerful. Because real transformation does not happen in the spotlight. It happens in the dark, in the quiet, in the still moments when no one is watching, and you choose yourself anyway. You choose discipline over distraction. You choose rest over running. You choose accountability over excuses. You begin to recognize that healing is not always about doing more. It is often about undoing. Undoing beliefs that kept you small. Undoing stories that made you doubt your worth. Undoing habits that numbed your potential. You start setting boundaries, not to push people away, but to finally make space for your own voice to be heard. You stop chasing closure from people who never gave you clarity. You stop begging for love in places where you were only ever tolerated. You stop trying to prove your worth to people who could never see it, even if you screamed it at the top of your lungs. Instead, you turn inward. You become your own validator. You become your own advocate. You become your own sanctuary. And slowly, you start building a life that feels aligned. Not impressive, not loud, not curated, but honest, grounded, true. You create routines that support your nervous system. You fill your space with things that nourish your spirit. You build friendships rooted in presence, not performance. You speak in a tone that reflects peace, not apology. You become magnetic, not because of what you show, but because of what you no longer hide. And perhaps most importantly, you forgive yourself. You forgive yourself for staying too long, for breaking your own heart, for betraying your intuition just to keep someone else comfortable. You stop punishing yourself for the ways you tried to survive. You start honoring the resilience it took just to get here. Becoming is not linear. It is not a checklist. It is a spiral. Some days you'll feel empowered. Other days, you will feel like you are breaking all over again. But even on those days, you are not back at the beginning. You are deeper, wiser, more aware. Because once you know your worth, even if you forget for a moment, you can never fully unknow it. You begin to live with intention. You start asking, does this feel like love? Not just in relationships, but in how you work, rest, speak, move, and exist. You begin to define success differently, not by what you have, but by how whole you feel. Not by how many follow you, but by how few pieces of yourself you have to lose to be liked. You walk away more. You say no faster. You choose yourself without guilt. Because you understand now, You are not selfish for refusing to abandon yourself again. You were never too much. You were never asking for too much. You just needed to be in an environment where your wholeness was not a threat. And if that environment did not exist, you learned how to build it, brick by brick, word by word, boundary by boundary. So no one can save you. But the truth is, no one needs to. Because the version of you that is emerging, the one who has faced herself, held her own hand in the dark and kept going anyway. She is the hero you are waiting for. She is not perfect. She's not fearless. But she is free. And that above all is the true measure of power.